The second word, truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. This interaction between the two bandits and Jesus is particularly from the Gospel of Luke, that is always friendly with sinners, wanting to bring them back to the Lord. St. Luke describes two cute characters, wrongdoers. What a difference between the two. One wicked, one good wrongdoer. That itself is an irony, to have a good wrongdoer. But it was his persistent plea that got such a beautiful reward from the mouth of Jesus. But he addressed Jesus very intimately. He calls him Jesus. No reverence, no formality, just Jesus. A very sincere request from someone who knew was on the wrong track. Once again, what an irony. The last person to speak to Jesus Christ is a criminal. But a criminal who had such confidence in Jesus' goodness. A testimony which is really worthwhile. And his request betrays the fact that he believes. How much he knew about Jesus, we do not know. But he believes that if he makes a request, Jesus, whoever he is, will grant him a graceful benefit. But he realized very clearly something about Jesus. That this man on the cross there next to him is not someone who deserves to be punished. He articulates that to the other wrongdoer. We don't know how he knew it. What did he know about Jesus? But that understanding of this man next to him, he allowed it to have an impact on him. And he did something that all thieves do. They steal. So some commentators say that he stole heaven from Jesus on the cross. A beautiful way of putting it. And probably something that we all need to do. Start stealing from Jesus benefits that he wants to give us. I think only the blind can't see it. All that he did was recognized that he was deserving of his punishment, and the man on the cross next to him was not deserving of the punishment. He built a bond of intimacy with Jesus, and we know from the word of Jesus that he promised him paradise. But what about the other wrongdoer? Why this derision, this hatred towards a man whom probably he didn't know many details about? But all the same, he was blinded and he utters blasphemy. Save yourself, save us, if you are the Son of God. What a devastating blindness, my dear friends. A blindness that perhaps many of us too have fallen a trap to. But if we get rid of that blindness, we can get a beautiful covenant with Jesus. What did Jesus give the good thief? He gave him redemption, salvation, and also intimate discipleship with him. Because he says, you will be with me. What a guarantee. And for a thief, what a sense of hope. You will be with me. And that is the promise that all of us have been given by Jesus. He promises to forgive us. That is his mission. And in the last words on the cross, he is once again telling us, this is what I'm offering you. salvation, I'm offering you discipleship, complete happiness with me, much more than what the thief asked for, he got. And we know that Jesus alone, who is judge of everything, is capable of honoring this promise. I wonder if anyone else can make this promise. You will be with me forever in eternity, always. Who can give this promise, if not Jesus? But that requires that we be not blind like the other bandit. Don't utter blasphemies. Don't reject the only one who can give us that redemption. So that is what Pope Francis also did. You might have read in the papers about this critique about his past life. That's why I think it's important that we come to know the man and to love him even more. Because 25 years ago, that was his plight. I spoke to you about the mistake that he made about Father Carlos Mujica. There are two other priests. They were Jesuits, both of them, Father Orlando Orio and Father Franz Jalix. Father Carlos Mujica was done to death, assassinated in front of his church. In 1976, these two Jesuit priests were kidnapped and tortured. And if you have been following the news, they are blaming Father Bergoglio for not having done enough to save his own Jesuit priests. But what were they up to? The same thing, hobnobbing with the poor, living with them in the slums so that they can help them to come up. But obviously it was a moment of aggression, a difficulty between the government and the poor people, and the church was getting caught. The church was more at that time siding with the government, siding with the rich, and therefore these priests were deciding that they need to be more with the poor in order to help them to come up. But this was not understood by the church at that time. So he told them to stop it, and they refused, and they were Jesuits, so it became a very big issue. So they said, no, we will continue to do work with the poor, you do what you have to do. So finally he withdrew their permission to say Mass. That was a clue to the state that they do not have a proper relationship with the church, and therefore they kidnapped them. After some time, the Pope, now he says that he did a lot to release them, which is probably true, and they were released. Father Orio died in Uruguay afterwards, and Franz Jalik had to go to Germany to disappear a little bit in oblivion. But as soon as Father Bergoglio became Pope, they had a chance to meet, and they embraced each other. Actually, the commentators are saying that the two men fell into each other's arms and wept. Pope Francis has recognized what it means to be in touch with the poor, in love with the poor, and actually for an institution to make that option for the poor. My dear brothers and sisters, he's come out of his blindness, and therefore now he can himself experience what Jesus is offering us, and he can take the whole church along those lines when he's saying that we have to be a church of the poor and for the poor. Our blindnesses have to go, my dear brothers and sisters. A blindness that comes from not appreciating the crucified one. So very often I see that some of our youth, for example, even standing outside while the Mass is going on, it hurts me very much. What about our people who are growing in stature, in education? Why has education led us to less appreciation of religion? I challenge anyone, whatever the church believes is rationally capable of being understood. Even the stupidest thing like forgiving your enemies. It is rationally possible to be explained. And yet we have a culture whereby the more you are educated, the less you are religious. Why is there a decline in the celebration of the sacrament of reconciliation? If Jesus on the cross is offering it to us, we must be really blind not to come for reconciliation. All other arguments, intellectual they may be, are of no worth. Here is a man on the cross is telling us, I am the one who can give it to you. Forgiveness. We must be like that other bandit who is blind to that. Let us pray that we might be rather like the good thief.